Hey everyone, welcome back. So today I'm really excited because I'm going to do something really special today. This is going to be my first cooking show, and today I will be making some steak. This looks like it is a ribeye. I think that the package had said some kind of loin. But I honestly think that whoever packaged this at the meat department, they may have made a mistake, because this really looks like a nice piece of ribeye steak, which I've had here for almost about 30 minutes. So you know, when you're making steak, you have to leave it out so that it gets like a room temperature it gets to room temperature instead of icy, cold straight out of the fridge, so that it cooks better. And so now I'm gonna go over all of the ingredients that we will need for the steak. We have some Worcestershire sauce. We will need a tongs to handle the steak. We will need some black pepper. We will need also some seasoned salt, or you can use sea salt if you prefer, but I like Lawry seasoned salt. I feel that whenever I use the Lawry's on red meat, it just gives it a really good flavor. And if you're going to use seasoned salt, you don't need regular salt, either or. And then for the aromatics, we're going to have some rosemary. If you have fresh rosemary, that's even better. But dried rosemary will do just fine. We have some fresh garlic, about 3 cloves for this size steak. This is like maybe a 20-ounce size steak. And I prefer boneless. I prefer the steak with bones, ribeye with the bone in, but Costco didn't have any bone in. I don't think I've ever seen any bone in ribeye, so I just got boneless, which is fine. We also need some thyme. If you have fresh thyme, that's even better, but this is some dried thyme that I got from my mom's garden in South Carolina, so I'm going to use that. It's very fragrant and aromatic. And then we're going to have some unsalted butter. And then you're going to use some oil. The preferred oil that you should use is an oil with a high smoke point, so that when you're frying the oil doesn't burn and smoke up so easily. So I'm gonna use grapeseed oil because I'm trying to get rid of it, but this is for grilling and cooking, preferably, but it's not ideal for doing a steak, but I'm just gonna use it. And then what else? Don't need this. And then you will need a cast iron skillet, right? It doesn't have to be, there's no particular brand. I think all skillets are pretty much the same. So yeah, you will need a nice size skillet to cook the steak in, and that's pretty much it. So let's get to it. Alright, so now we're gonna season the steak. What I like to do is I like to sprinkle some of the Worcestershire sauce on both sides of the steak first, so it can penetrate inside of the meat. And we're not gonna do too much, even though this is a nice thick slice of steak. We're only gonna put a sprinkle on each side. And then we're going to season it with the seasoned salt and black pepper. But before we do that, we're going to add just a little dab of oil first. And what the oil is going to do is going to help all of the seasoning stick to the steak on both sides, just a little bit, because this is a nice fatty piece cut of steak, and it's gonna like render a lot of oil. And then we're gonna add the butter too, so you don't need to OD with the oil. Now after you rub in the oil on all sides, you're going to sprinkle some black pepper. And remember, this is a very thick cut, so you want to kind of be heavy-handed so that each slice gets a nice amount of seasoning as you bite into it. So just be generous. I mean, unless you really don't like pepper. But this is a nice thick cut, so you want to make sure you put enough. And be generous with the salt as well. Okay, we're gonna put seasoning salt on the other side as well. If this was a thinner slice, like half of this, I wouldn't put I would put half as much seasoning, but this is a nice thick. So make sure that it's seasoned all really well all around the steak. And before you begin, you want to make sure that you have a thermometer nearby, because you want to make sure that your steak reaches at least 140 degrees. We're gonna go for a medium temperature, a medium done steak today. When I was younger, I used to go for medium well done, and then after a while I started requesting medium well steaks, and when they cook it medium well, it still comes out pretty dry. And after watching so many videos on YouTube and going out with friends, I said to myself, you know what, I'm gonna try this medium cooked steak one day just to see what the big deal is. And man, when I tried that medium cooked steak with, yes, a little bit of pink in the middle, a little bit of red juice coming out, yes, it changed my life. It's such a huge difference from when you cook a steak medium versus well done or even medium well. So that's what I try to go for now, medium steak. So if you cook the steak to at least 140 degrees Fahrenheit and take it off of the heat, it'll still continue to cook for another 2 minutes or so, and usually it'll get to 145 degrees, but even if it doesn't, it's not a huge big deal. And then what you would want to do as soon as you take it off is you'll let the steak rest for about 5 minutes. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to smash up this garlic and prepare and cut up some butter so that we're ready to cook the steak, and throw in the aromatics. They'll be ready. And so let's go. All right, everyone, we're ready to cook our steak. So I'm heating the pan on a high heat because I want the pan to heat up very quickly and really hot, nice and hot. I'm gonna dab just a little tiny bit of oil, not too much. We're not trying to fry the steak in oil. We just want to sear it. So let me do this. Yeah. So we just want to make sure the bottom is nice and coated. And once you start to see the pan like get smoky, that's when you know it's ready to go in. So we're gonna give that a few more minutes to heat up. It is nice and hot, as you can hear. Or you want it to get a little bit more hotter than that. Just a little more hotter. Right? Nice and hot. So I have my thermometer ready. I have my tongs ready. I have about 4 tablespoons of butter ready. The garlic that I crushed with the bottom of a glass jar. My thyme. I have my spoon so that I can spoon over the butter on the steak. And I have my rosemary ready to go. All right, so now that the pan is nice and hot, I do see some heat coming off of the surface. So I'm gonna turn it down to a medium temperature, and I'm gonna lay my steak in on one side, right in the middle of the flame area. And we want to press down because we want to make sure that all parts of the steak get a nice sear on it. And this is a nice thick cut. This is about 2 inches, no, 1.5 inch cut. So we're gonna cook the steak for about at least 5 minutes on each side. We might have to go for 7 minutes on each side. but I'm also going to use the thermometer to let me know when it's ready to flip. So you want to get a nice color on that steak. We're not going to mess around with it right away. We want to let that side cook and sizzle and get a nice color before we're ready to flip it. Alright, so we're coming up to about 4 minutes, and I'm just going to give the steak a little peek. There's actually a lot of smoke happening here, and I don't want my alarms to go off, so I turned it down to a lower heat just for a little while. And wow, it has such a nice color. I'm going to keep it on there just for another minute or so before I flip it. So I'm going to give it like maybe 2 more minutes before I flip it. Alright, so it's been just about 5 minutes, and before I flip this steak, I'm going to just stick my thermometer in all the way closest to the bottom part of the steak to see what temperature it has reached at this time. And it has not gone up quite hot enough yet. So, but I'm going to turn it up again to a medium high heat, and I'm gonna flip the other side. So I don't want it to burn, so the other side can start to cook. And I'm gonna try to see what temperature it's at this time. Wow. So we have quite some time to go. So we can still, while it's cooking on medium to high heat, we can still go ahead and add in our aromatics. So we're going to add the thyme, the rosemary, and I'll probably take my time to pick each and every one of those rosemaries off before I have that steak. And we're going to add the garlic and some butter. Really, everything should kind of like get down in here with the butter so it can get some flavor going. It can release the flavor of the herbs. Yeah, that's what I should have done, but it's okay. It's gonna get there regardless. So we want to get all of the flavor infused in that steak and butter. I mean, all of the flavor of the herbs and the garlic infused into the butter, because we're going to use that butter sauce to spoon over the steak to give the steak a nice added flavor. So we're going to do this. Gotta angle it just a little bit. That's what we want. And then when the butter starts to burn a little bit or get very hot, it's actually going to turn brown. It's going to be like a brown butter sauce. It smells so good right now, guys. So good. See, it's starting to turn brown. Make sure it gets on every inch of the steak. It smells so good. Alright, so let's see what's happening in the temperature department. Okay, starting to get hotter at the bottom. Once it reaches 140 degrees on the middle, in the middle part of the steak, that's when you can take it out. It gotta get to 140 degrees, because you don't want it to be undercooked. Like, it's gonna end up being what do you call medium rare? I don't really want medium rare. I want medium. We're gonna have to probably flip this again, but I'm gonna give it another 3 minutes to get nice and brown before I flip. But let's check on the color at the bottom. Ooh, it's looking really good down there. Let me press this little piece right here so it can get nice and brown. Long way to go. All right, another 2 minutes before I flip. All right, so it has been another 3 minutes has passed, and now I'm going to flip it again so that we get this bad boy to the temperature that we want. And remember, we're using tongs. We're not going to be using a fork to poke the steak around and release all of that good juice. We're using tongs. Check the temperature. Okay, we're going to spoon some of that nice butter sauce again. Garlic, rosemary, and thyme butter sauce. I'm going to turn the heat up just a little bit more because I want this to kind of hurry up. It shouldn't be taking this long to get to temperature, but I have a strong feeling the reason why this happened, why it's taking so long, is because I didn't have it at exactly room temperature. I took it out only 30 minutes prior to frying it, to starting the cooking process. And you want to make sure that your steak is out for at least an hour. Separate it on a plate, hanging out for about an hour, because this is what happens when you try to cook it on cold, coming straight out of the refrigerator. It takes too long to get to the right temperature that you want. Ooh. Yeah. We're getting there. We're getting there. We're getting there. Ooh. Oh, it's done, guys. It is 140 degrees now. So we can take our steak out and we're gonna let it rest for 5 minutes. Okay, so we're back. It has been exactly 5 minutes or so, or 6 minutes. And I'm gonna cut up the steak. This is a pretty thick steak, and I used to actually cook 2 of these for me and my son, my 8-year-old, and I realized that is way too much beef we can actually just share this. I just simply slice it up. He gets a little, I get a little because I can't have a lot of beef because of the cholesterol, and I give him most of it, and that's really good enough, like for 2 people. So let me start to slice this up. They say that you have to cut along the grain, and it's really hard for me sometimes to figure out where the grain is. I'm thinking the grain is this way, so I gotta cut this way, I think. Well, I don't know, I'm not sure, but let's just try. I'm gonna slice this up like this. And guys, my hands are clean, obviously. I'm not gonna use dirty hands to cut up my steak. Let me see if that's the grain. It is the grain. Perfect. Okay, just one more. All right, so leaving it to rest actually helped retain the juiciness. See how it's like, it's not too, well, this looks like a little bit more like medium well, but that's closer to the end. Let me take a middle slice. See that color? It's like perfect. It's not too dry, it's not too overdone, and it's not too pink either. Let's give it a taste. The crust is so nice. Like, I did heavily season the outside part, but because it's such a thick cut, like it balances out perfectly. So good. I'm gonna serve these slices up. Ooh, with a side of steamed vegetables. Oh, it's so good, guys. It's juicy, it's tender. I'm not certain that it's ribeye. I think it's loin beef, some kind of cut, but it's still just as good. So let me do my thumbnail. This is not the best presentation, but hey, as long as it tastes good, right? So let me do my thumbnail. Look at that. Ribeye, or some kind of steak, some kind of cut steak, cooked to perfection. Let me clean up the edges a little bit so it looks nicer for my thumbnail. Ooh, look at that. See that juice right there? Yeah, so I'm gonna serve this up with some red wine. Check out my goblet, guys. I actually, when I first saw this, I thought it was so cute, and I called it a grail, like a holy grail. And I got this from Universal Studios. When my son saw it, he's like, "Mom, that's not a grail, that's a goblet." But I just thought it was so cute. It reminds me of like something you'd see in like medieval times. So yeah, I'm gonna have that. Some red wine, my steak. Ooh, there's a lot of juice on it. Oh, this is cracked. Ooh, gotta clean that up and get a new board. Ooh, extra piece of steak there. So yeah, I'm gonna have this, my wine. No carbs today. I need to lose weight anyway. And there you have it, guys. Medium cooked steak with vegetables. Frozen vegetables, actually, from Whole Foods. And don't sleep on frozen vegetables. They're pretty good. Like, not the best. It's not better than fresh vegetables, but as long as you don't overcook your vegetable, guys. Don't overcook your vegetables like our parents did in the old days, where it like turned like an ugly mustard green. You eat with your eyes first. If you want to entice children to eat their vegetables, cook them just enough so that they retain that bright, pretty color, that sweetness that they naturally have, and your children will enjoy vegetables. Start them early. Don't wait until they're older children to start them on vegetables. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a comment. like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, enjoy.